Is a 4-day work week destiny for you or your organization? We'll break down the research on 4-day work weeks and talk about what you can do to increase productivity, decrease stress, and increase engagement on your team or your whole organization. Let's go. So you may have seen the research study published about an experiment in Iceland into the 4-day work week. Now, a think tank and government organizations ran a massive experiment in Iceland where they asked a significant group of people to work for 4 days instead of 5 days a week. And at the end of the experiment, and tabulating all of the different data, they found that employees were just as productive, but dramatically less stressed and dramatically more satisfied with their life. And this isn't the only 4-day work week experiment that's ever been conducted. The New Zealand-based company Perpetual Guardian ran a similar experiment a number of years ago. They found that productivity actually increased 20%. So not stayed the same, but people are working less hours, a raw increase in productivity of 20%. Microsoft Japan ran a similar experiment and found similar results in productivity and decreases in stress, etc. And in fact, if you look at OECD countries and you compare the average hours worked or reported worked by their employees with the per capita GDP per hour, so GDP per hour versus the number of hours worked, you find a negative correlation. In other words, in OECD countries where people report that they work more, the per hour productivity of that work is less. So this is a lot of data suggesting that maybe there's something to this. Maybe it's not all that crazy. And in fact, it probably would have sounded crazy a number of years ago, decades ago, when Henry Ford moved his entire factory from a 6-day work week to a 5-day work week. We've done this before. We've experimented with the right number of hours to work is, and often we've found that, hey, as the nature of work changes, how much time we need to do that work changes as well. Now, if we look at these modern experiments, let me just say, first of all, that I'm shocked. I'm shocked that people report that they are happier with their life when they're working less hours and getting paid presumably the same amount of money. What's a little more surprising is that productivity is largely staying the same. This may be the best evidence we've ever seen for Parkinson's law, right? The idea that work expands or contracts to fit the time allotted to it. But I think there's something deeper here as well. I think the nature of work has been changing for a long time. Henry Ford led a dramatic shift in the way that we manage and keep track of how much work people are doing in the industrial age. We carried that over into the knowledge work age. But as we're shifting even from the knowledge work age to the creative work age, what we're finding is we need to rethink what the right number of hours might actually be. We might need a bit more mental rest because we're tasked with solving bigger problems, with finding ways to create more value. We know that time away from work makes work better. And what this research suggests is that if we're largely doing creative work, problem-solving work, maybe even more time away from work helps with that. There is probably a place, right? A 4-hour work week is probably unrealistic to keep productivity the same, but there is a happy medium somewhere, and it's probably not 40 hours a week. I don't know where it's going to land. And in fact, I actually know this. If you're looking to make a change in your organization, dictating we're moving from 5 to 4 may not actually work. Because I know from decades of research that the number one thing that's going to increase whether or not your people feel engaged, whether or not they feel like they have a sense of work-life balance, whether or not they can take the rest that they actually need to take, is whether or not they have autonomy in where they do their work, how they do their work, what their schedule for that work is. Perceived autonomy is one of the biggest factors in a knowledge work economy as to whether or not people are intrinsically motivated and also that they feel they have that freedom. So if you're trying to look at this and decide what's right for your team or for your whole organization, I'm not actually going to say you should do 4 days instead of 5, or you should do 6 and spite Henry Ford, or you should go 3 to get even more productivity. What I'm going to tell you is this: autonomy is better than a set work schedule anyway. So figure out ways that you can, whether that's keeping the whole team accountable to each other or just keeping them accountable to you, figure out ways that you can help your team set a schedule that works for them. Give them autonomy over when, how often, and where they do their work. And you'll find that they do their work at least as good, if not better, but they do it with a lot less stress, a lot less burnout, and a lot more life satisfaction. And that's good news for just about everyone, because that helps just about everyone do their best work ever. Hey, thanks so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you really liked it and you want to go deeper, I'd encourage you to go to davidburkus.com/resources, where we have a ton of different resources for you and for your whole team to help you do your best work ever.